Okay, yes. Why do women cheat in marriage? Why do women cheat? All right, so maybe this shouldn't have been an issue, but over time, women are known to be loyal, women are known to be selfless, loving, caring, and always there. In relationships, even in marriage, women are known to be very loyal partners. So, what happens when a woman cheats? What could be the reason when a very loyal being turn out to be wild? So, what could be the reason behind it? So, that is what we'll be talking about today. And of course, I have a special guest in the studio. I have Mrs. Oluwaseun Ricket. So she'll be doing justice to today's topic. And of course, if you have an opinion, if you have contribution, if you have some points, you can always drop it in the comment section or as well call in to drop your comments. All right, so I would like to start with my guest for today. Okay, so madam, you can unmute your mic, Mrs. Oluwaseun Ricket. So let us have you. All right, good evening, ma'am.
I'm glad to be part of this program this evening.
Yes, please.
I'm really honored.
With great pleasure, we are welcoming you as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let us talk about this special creature of ours. Let's talk about our gender. You know, there has been this thing about women being selfless, women are loving, women are loyal, women are like everything. They can bend, they make magic happen, right? So,
Yes,
but
so
lately over time there has been some news, there has been some um how will I put it now? We've been hearing different things around about women in marriage. So in fact, I think late last year and early this year, the issues of DNA has really been a big one. That you just hear they
yeah,
went for DNA and boom, out of three children, maybe one, maybe one belongs to the
surprise.
husband, or maybe out of the three children, none belongs to the husband. So now it's becoming a thing of concern because this gender seems to be like an absorbing one whenever anything comes up. This gender seems to be selfless, it seems to be there almost every now and then. So, what do you think could be the reason behind a woman cheating in a marriage?
Yeah, this topic is a dynamic one,
Okay,
and actually, we know that cheating is in both gender.
exactly.
But when we're talking about the woman as the homemaker is expected to be the person that is holding the house. That is, the pillar of the house is majorly held by the woman. But we know that over time, we know that cheating is not something that is sudden.
Mm, mm,
It starts by what you see, by what you hear, and gradually we process it in our brain. You begin to process it. Probably you've seen something, probably you've heard something, and then you before you know it, you begin to process it in your mind, and you begin to think about it. By the time you start thinking about it, it's as if there's a place in your heart that start negotiating. That's the when the negotiation comes. You start negotiating. The first thing I would say the reason behind cheating is lust.
mm.
Is lost when you start lusting about someone else. Can I take it biblically?
Yeah, you're free, ma.
Please, can I take it
You're
biblically?
free,
Yeah.
ma. Please go ahead.
Now, if we look at Genesis 39, verse 7,
Okay.
it spoke about the wife of Potiphar. And it said, it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph. She started casting a longing eyes on Joseph. That is, she started seeing something different about this guy. Okay, I'm seeing something different from Joseph, from what I'm seeing in my husband. But she's forgotten that, oh, actually, my husband has been a perfect guy when I married him. So the lust is the first thing. I'll say the lust has creeped in. You start saying, oh, this guy is so handsome. Then you start comparing in your mind. Oh, how I wish my husband is as tall as this. Oh, how I wish my husband can speak as this. Oh, how I wish my husband can be as caring as this. The longing, that was what happened in the case of Pharaoh, Potiphar's wife. Start longing for something that doesn't belong to her. There was this yearning that was outside the ordinary. You should know it is normal for a lady to admire. Now you will agree with me. There are times you see someone and you admire, oh, you're good looking, you appreciate the goodness of God in that particular person. But when it comes to at the aspects where you start, thinking otherwise, you start having the mind, oh, I wish, that negativity has crept in, you should know there is a problem. At that point, there is a problem. Then you should check yourself. That's why the Bible says we should keep renewing our mind. There has to be a renewal each time. We have to keep renewing. And the next thing I'll point out as another thing is the fear of God. The Bible says the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. A house that is not built on God can never stand. Now, when you're about to take a step and you're reminded that, oh, God is the bedrock of this family. If I fail, then it means that I am going to fail totally. Marriage is a ministry on its own. If you fail this ministry, then it means you have failed in fact, you have failed your children, not only your husband. You have failed the constitution of marriage. You have failed God. And that is why you see that Joseph ran as far. He said, how can I sin against God? How can I sin against my master? Because he had the fear of God and he applied wisdom. So he was able to know that at that point, this is a red light for me. I must fear God. I have to run away and I must run fast. Another thing that I'll mention, I hope I'm not too fast.
Please, go ahead, ma'am.
Another thing I would like to mention is that presently now, what I notice in women, bringing it down, is that a lot of them lack contentment. They are not contented with what they have. You have little, but you start comparing that. Don't you see my friends? Don't you see my friend's husband? Don't you see what he's doing for his wife? Don't you see the car he's buying? Don't you see the clothes? Don't you you are not contented. You are not contented with what you have. You are not satisfied. You want more than what your husband can actually give to you. And then that is where negativity comes in. Friends start telling you that, don't you see? You don't know what your friends are doing. Don't you know that there's a short way out? There's something you can actually do. You don't know how people are doing it. You don't know how people are running it. You see some ladies, because they see things that are going on social media. Even those that are posting these things that, okay, I have bought this, I have bought this, I have acquired this. Is it truly their husband that is getting it for them? That is the question that you should be asking. Now, I read a story online, I think last month. The lady posted that, oh, my husband has gotten me a car. And then the friends were commenting. It was even a birthday car. My husband has gotten this birthday car for me, celebrating. Comments were going on. Then the husband replied to the comment that I haven't gotten this for this woman. No. I haven't gotten this for this woman. Now the question is, where did this woman get the money to acquire this car that the husband is not able to afford? That is where this issue of contentment comes in. The Bible says godliness with contentment is a great gain. That is when you are able to say, I have this little, but I'm satisfied with this little that I have. Over time, if I am patient enough, I will eat more than what I have at the moment. But women, because from where they some women will be like, don't you know where I'm coming from? Probably their parents are actually from a very strong and wealthy background, and the husband cannot afford what they are asking for. And then they go overboard to say, okay, if you cannot give it to me, then I'll have to find my way to get it for myself. That is a major problem. That is a major problem in marriage that is causing cheating. Then you see them going outside. Okay, if this man can get it for me, then let me go to this man and get what I can get. My husband cannot get it for me. Then you see them cheating on their husband.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. All right. Before I
Yes,
quickly
ma'am.
ask some questions. All right. So I actually have some questions here for you, ma'am. So let me start
Okay.
from where you talked about contentment. Okay. So
Okay, ma'am.
we've had stories of people that are in wealth and affluence. I mean, when I mean wealth and affluence, it's on both sides. So it's not just because they are actually looking for money. These ones are possibly contented. Now, you know, there's this adage that says women are moved by what they hear, while men are moved by what they see. Now, in the
Yes.
case where there is um, there's a gap or there's a vacuum in the home, in the marriage. I mean, in a case where the husband is not meeting up to his responsibilities, is not meeting up to his duties, where there is an emotional gap, don't you think
Yeah,
that
most
can also be
starvation.
a reason for infidelity, especially on the women? You know, there are times that women generally, we love good comments, we love it when people admire us, when they tell us sweet things
Mm.
and the likes. So now let's bring it down to a marriage where the husband does not even it does not even know what the wives look like anymore. Not to talk of giving comments, not to talk of passing comments. The husband does not even appreciate her any longer. So, and for instance, she finds someone maybe at a workplace or somewhere that admires her a lot. And okay, let me also bring in this is it love language, right? Yeah. For
Yeah.
instance, a woman that loves word of affirmation, you get, and the husband does not
Yes.
even is not anywhere close to saying all those things, and she finds herself in a place whereby there is a man maybe at a workplace or somewhere that she sees almost every now and then, and this person truly, now underline the word truly, admires her and gives her this word of affirmation. So if it happens in that scenario, who do you blame? Or should I say,
Wow.
how can we balance such? Because this is as a result of an emotional gap.
Emotional
Yes.
starvation. This is what I call emotional
Mm,
starvation. That is the woman, the emotional needs that she desire is not being met. Sometimes loneliness and even sexual deprivation
mm,
has crept in. You know, in this kind of case, if this is the case of the woman and the woman has started having someone talking to her who is really interested in her and showing her the love and care that she's lacking in her home, this is the period for the woman to actually think and say, okay, I'm at a crossroad.
mm,
My husband is not giving me this, but I have the ability to get it outside.
mm,
Can't I would say in this kind of situation, I would suggest that the woman will call the wife, the husband, and this is where communication comes in,
mm,
which is a key point in marriage. The woman must be able to communicate to the husband, Oga, I need you, I need your time because this is affecting us. There must be communication in marriage. In the instance where the man is not ready to hear and the wife is speaking, I would say if there is somebody that can speak, if there is someone that can speak to the husband, I'll not say you should wash your dirty linen outside. If there's a pastor or a close friend, a pastor or a close friend that can speak to the husband that you want to protect your home. And sometimes, even before you think of, let me bring this in. I have this way of dealing with myself in marriage. I used to go to God first. If anything, I go to God first. The Bible says the heart of a man is in of kings is in the hands of God. So I go to God first. That God, please help me touch this person's heart before I speak with my husband. That is the first thing I do. I go to God first. As I'm going to speak, God, order my words. Don't let me speak out of frustration. Don't let me speak out of anger, because men have this thing we call ego. When you talk to them out of anger, God, you are not meeting my needs, and if you don't give it to me, you get frustrated sometimes, and you talk out of anger. If you know you are not capable, at that point you are frustrated. The first thing you should do is to go down on your knees and tell God, God, you have given me this husband. His heart is in your hand. I'm going to speak, God. Order my words. Then you'll be able to know the right words to say, so that you don't speak out of anger. And you make him see reason. When you're talking, you don't use I. One thing I learned about marriage is that when you want to have a heart-to-heart conversation with your husband, you don't use the word I. It signifies selfishness. So when you want to bring down your conversation, you bring the word we. I think we are getting to a point where our marriage is, where there's a distance, there's a gap between us. Please, can we work on it? Please, can we do this? Please, can we do that? You are humbling. You are bringing yourself down. You are robbing the man's ego. You are robbing the man's ego. And at that point, I believe that when the man doesn't hear, then you should go to the extent of talking probably to a close friend that is really a friend, not the friends that are not friends. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Not the friends that are not friend of your marriage, because there are some friends that are not the friend of your marriage. So you should actually be able to speak to friends that are a friend of your marriage, or a pastor that can actually speak to him that you want your marriage to work. These are the lapses. And I believe that with God first, things can work. That is my own perception.
All right. Thank you so much, Mama. All right, yes, so still on the show. It's been an interesting and a very insightful one with Mrs. Oluwashun Ricket. All right, so if you're there and you also have one or two things to drop, either a question or a contribution, please call in. The line is open. Call in. Let's have you talk. Let's hear your view. And if you want to drop your comment as well, please feel free to do that. All right, in the space of that, let me quickly welcome some people to the studio. All right, okay, I can see Mr. A, Modupe, Mr. B, great. I can see Rio Fisher, you're welcome. Adeusi Adetola Ojo, you're welcome, ma'am. All right, yes, we've been talking about why do women cheat in marriage. Now, like I said earlier, maybe it wouldn't have been a topic of discussion if it were to be the other gender. But it is a topic of discussion because this gender seems to, we have this perception of being loyal. Oh, you're welcome, Madam Maria Fisher.
Good evening, sis.
Good evening.
How was your day been?
Very, very well, and yes.
Fine,
You're a
thank
little bit
you.
under the weather, I guess.
Please, the speaker had done justice to the topic,
Okay.
done great justice to the topic. God bless her. Especially that area of lust and contentment. God bless her for doing justice to that. But I have a question, because I believe this marriage thing is not it's not a one-person thing. It's a two-person thing.
Okay.
With God, three.
Mm.
Now, there are seminars for women.
Mhm.
There are deliverance section for women. There are counseling for women.
Mhm.
My question is it only the women that are involved in the marriage?
Mm.
Is it only the women that are possessed? Is it only the women that must bow to pressure? Is it only the woman that has to make this marriage work? Because the male folk, honestly, I'm a fan of anybody that knows me well. We know that I do more of talking to the females, to the ladies. But we have to face the truth. Who will mentor our men? Now, the speaker said something about calling your man and talking to him, and men have ego, blah 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 blah. I'm sure there are older men that knows that men have ego, that are able to curb theirs, and that can help the younger generation. My question is, why are they quiet?
I love that.
What can we do to help our male gender? It is not getting funny at all. Marriages are breaking every day. Women are they are victims of domestic violence. Tell me how such woman would not go and source for comfort elsewhere. My question is, where was Adam when the serpent was talking to Eve? If Adam had assumed his position when the serpent was talking to him, I'm sure he was the one that God gave the instruction. He could have countered the serpent. But why? God said this, and it must remain this, because he had a relationship with God for long before the woman came. So, if we continue to lecture our women, if we continue to conduct deliverance section and leaving the other side unturned, leaving the other side uncultured, marriage will still be under pressure.
Can say that again.
So that's my own burden this evening. That who will mentor our men?
All right. So
who will counsel our men?
All right. So Madam Maria Fisher, let me quickly bring out some points before our speaker will say something about that. So I actually I have 2 points here, and okay. So let me start with the older men. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can.
Now, talking about the older men, can you reduce the maybe the speaker or something? I can hear myself back again.
Okay.
How about now?
I think I've done that.
Yes, so it's fine now. So now let's talk about the older men. I think I raised this somewhere, I think last month. Yeah, I raised it somewhere. I think we were just talking somewhere. And I said, I think it's high time we bring these old men to really talk to these younger men, maybe some mistakes they've made and how they've been able to come out of it. Now, but I realized something. Most of these old men, they are not truly. Now, let's underline that word truly. They are not truly healed. Now, let's talk about a man that spends, that is over 70, or let's even say 70, right? But he got married. Along the line, there were so many issues with the side chicks and the likes. And he's still, after so many years of going back and forth, he's back to his own wife. But most times, I think these men are not truly, they are not truly healed to really talk to this other gender. I don't know if you are getting it. Now, the only thing they get to pass on to their younger men is maybe, this is how women behave. So you have to be patient and all. But do you know that before you can declare your mistakes, that means you must have been healed? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes.
Sincerely, like you said, I think we need to do that, but we might possibly need to look out for men that are ill, one. Then maybe we need to look out for
Okay.
men that have a tangible relationship with God, that will possibly
That's
stand
what
in
I
the
want
gap.
to say. Okay. Now, the thing is because when you said men, this man probably something. But I wanted to say we have those we call spiritual fathers. My question is, if the so-called spiritual fathers cannot maintain such a good stature in marriage, then what are we fathering?
I love that. That's a good
So what are we fathering? So there are men God has helped that I know. There are men that will tell you don't do this to your wife, you don't do that to your wife. Understand the makeup of your wife and all that. There are men, I hear them speak. My question is, why don't these men come up? Or it is a practice in Africa that every woman that comes into marriage must be subject to some form of either emotional trauma or something. So I don't know if God can help us, and if those that let me I don't know how to put it, but if someone like you can help us tell people that you don't just treat one part of one side of leprosy, leaving the other side. The leprosy will still spread. It's still the same. You are still a leper. So thank you. I think
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
I've relieved my body for this.
Thank you so much. I really love that. All right, back to you, Mrs. Oluwaseun Ricket. Do you have something to say about that?
Oh, well, as per the old men, what I would say is that you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. Until you yourself, you have that happy marriage. You cannot give people what it takes to have a happy marriage. So for these older men, I would say in this aspect again that, like the Yoruba proverb would say, that you can force a horse to the stream, but you cannot force the horse to drink water. So when you're talking about talking to the men, there is something in men that will tell you that before you can even drag a man to counseling, you know it is great work. You should understand what I'm telling, what I'm saying. Before you can drag a man to marriage seminar, it is great work. Not to talk of you now saying before you can bring in old man. Now there's a policy in my marriage, which is third party policy. We don't allow third party. Actually, there was a point in our life that we're staggering. By the grace of God, we're going to be 10 years this year. There's a point in our life where we're staggering, and then we tried the third party. Actually, it backfired a very big way. And my husband called me to attention that before we entered this marriage, we had an agreement that no third party. So what I did in that sense was that, okay, we said no third party. The third party you're talking about here is not third human. But I'm going to intervene. But I'm going to let the divinity be my third party, because I have made God the foundation of my marriage. If I say that an elderly man should come and talk to me, and the elderly man himself does not have what it takes to bring my marriage together, he will just say nonsense. You hear some men saying that you are a man. You know, when you tell a man that you know you are a man, it gives them power. It gives them this pride that it gives them the energy. You know you are a man. Now, what about the woman? Now, the reason women are being hammered on, it's not as if the women are being, maybe they are being pushed aside, or maybe the women are being given the burden. But I feel the reason the burden is more on the women is because, now the child tends to look at the woman more. The child tends to lean on the woman more. So whatever you give to the child is what the child will grow up with. Now, if you train your son to be a responsible man, the son will remember that my mom has told me this. Now, I can remember one actor, a Nigerian actor, said that my mother told me never to cheat a woman. That is why, as good looking as I am, I used to tell God I should never cheat on a woman because a woman is going to be the reason for my success, and a woman can be a reason for my downfall. So if a man can come down to that level and say that, the power that we women have, men don't know, my sister, the power that God has given to us as women, oh Jesus. By the time, I since the moment I know that at the point that I'm having sex with my husband and I'm using my chest to touch his chest is a covenant moment. At that moment, my sister, let me tell you the godly truth. I speak into his life. At the point of connection, heart to heart, I speak, God, this man is mine. Nothing must take him from me. That is my own secret. My secret so far, I'm telling you my secret. I use my heart to touch his heart as we are doing it. And I tell God, Lord, you have given me this man. Nothing should harm him. Nothing should touch him. Nothing should destroy my marriage. I prophesy while doing it. Because it's a moment of covenant. Because nothing else, nobody outside there can counsel your man like God will counsel him. I pray God will help us in Jesus' name.
Thank you so much, Ma.
Amen.
I would like to actually add this. Madam Maria Fesha is saying at our speaker for today, ma'am, then what is the duty of the spiritual fathers? I don't know if you have something to say about that as well.
Well, the duty of our spiritual father is just to keep praying for us, to keep counseling us. They keep counseling. That's why you see that in most churches now, like in my church, we usually have, in fact, almost like in 3 months, quarterly, we have lectures on marriages. They keep hammering on marriages. That is their duty. And they don't just talk to the man alone. They make it couples program so that the man, and if you whether you like it or not, a man that will not come for the program will not come for the program. You cannot force them, my sister. So what they just do, our spiritual father needs to put us in prayer because they are oracles of God. And I believe that God listens to them. By the time they pray also, they join us in prayers. I pray that I know that God answers prayers. And when they talk to them again, I believe they will hear with time. Gradually and gradually, when they keep hearing that's what the Bible says, faith comes by hearing and hearing. That is why these seminars need to be held again and again in churches. Not just prosperity, not just anything that people want to hear, not just miracles. You need to teach about marriage. Miracles start from the house.
All right.
May God help us.
Amen. Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, Atorio Fesha, I have 2 points to drop for the spiritual fathers. Let's be sincere to ourselves. Do you know that some people might actually be doing well in their career, in their ministry, and their home might be suffering? Yes. So now imagine a spiritual father that is getting it all good in whatever aspect, every other aspect, but the home is suffering. Now those kind of people, like what Madam Oluwashun said, you cannot give what you don't have, right? So most times you see these spiritual fathers, most of them actually have this they have grace, right? In the calling, they might not have, their grace might not extend to their marriage. Let's take Eli and Samuel, for instance. Eli and Samuel, they did woefully in terms of parenting. And are we going to say that because they were prophets, they were not doing rightly before God? Like, is it that their ministry was not growing or God did not call them? God actually called them, but they were not doing well in aspects of parenting. So for some spiritual fathers, they might actually be doing good on the pulpit, in the word of God, in prayers, but that aspect, they might really be woeful. So they might truly not be able to give what they don't have. And lastly, I would also like to point out the case of parenting. Our guest also mentioned something like that. I believe it is also time for us, I mean, this generation of ours, to start changing the status quo, start changing the story. Let's start changing the narration. Now, if there's a boy and a girl in a home, most times the pressure of go and read your books might be on the boy, while the pressure of go and wash the dishes will be on the female. Now, that exactly might be where we are also getting it wrong. Now, if we want to give them chores, let it be chores for everybody. And at the same time, you want to teach them the word of God. Don't let one tell you he wants to go and play ball and you feel, he will always be a footballer. You can go, you come, let us do the Bible study together. No. So I think it is right about time for our generation to also breed the kind of men that we want to see. It is now in our own responsibility to also build the kind of men we truly want to see. Now, back to what Madam Oluwaseun said. Talking about this generation of men, what we can only do for now is to pray for them. But to avoid repeating this horrible history, start from us. We need to start training the kind of men we truly want to see, the kind of men we wish we had in the generation, or we wish we had somewhere. We wish they actually we have a more population of this set of men. So the bringing up has to start from us, while maintaining a good standard of our own boils down to us going back to our knees and also praying to God for wisdom and grace to groom the children that we are breeding now. All right, so thank you so much, everybody. If you have comments, if you have some points, if you have questions, please call in. Let's have you on board. We have just 10 minutes to round up the show. It's been a wonderful time this evening. So we kind of have a little bit of a drift in our topic today. And if you ask me, it's so much interesting to know that as we talk about why women cheat in marriage, we also need to look at the reasons why they actually do. If you agree with me, like I said when we started, women are known to be loyal partners, very loyal in relationship and most especially in marriage. And so when the same creature turns out to be wild, when the same creature turns out to be dreadful, then there should be a reason behind it. And that reason we really need to look into. Alright, so let me use an adage in my language that says Aja to rí ni tó ń jùrù tó wá padà tó ń rí ni tó ń gbó. It means a dog that sees you and wags his tail sees you next and started barking. You should know that something is at stake. So when women cheat in marriage, do we actually care to know reason why they do so? We're actually very fast in giving our judgment. We have numerous reasons. And to start with, my speaker today actually mentioned a few. She talked about the lust. She talked about the fear of God, that when the fear of God is absent, then you can do an undo. She talked about contentment. Yes, if you're not contented with whatever it is you have, be it money, be it the man, maybe while you were getting married to him, you didn't notice it was short. And just immediately after marriage, you began to see tall men and some men and rich guys. I test the waters. Contentment, lack of contentment might be. And also, we talked about emotional starvation. How about loneliness? How about revenge? Okay, so some women actually do that just because they want to take a revenge on their men. Does it really worth it? Some do that claiming it's equality. If a man can do it, nothing stops you from doing it. But hey, maybe possibly if you need to look into it very well, maybe you're not doing yourself a favor. Alright, we're talking about loneliness and emotional starvation. That I will really want to dwell on. And why do I want to dwell on this? When a woman cheats, oh my God, the whole country, the whole universe tends to know. But when a man cheats, it seems it's said like it's a man's nature. Men are polygamous in nature. When it happens to a woman, oh, you see the news on CNN, BBC, talk about any top media station wherever you are. So, like the drift we had while we were talking that Mrs. Uriofesha talked about, that why do we always focus on women? What happens to the men? When if there will be a deliverance session, there's always a target on the women. If there would be a seminar session, there's always a target on the women. So what is happening to the men? And if you ask me, I'll say this is the reason why so many things are really going worse. Because right from the onset, there has been this mindset and this perspective that it is only women that looks for husband. That it is only women that can pray that this is the kind of man that I want. So what happens in the place of men? Okay, maybe because they feel they are polygamous in nature. If a woman is not working, they can pick up another. And sincerely, I think that narrative really needs to change. If you don't appreciate her, if you cannot appreciate her, if you cannot feel that vacuum that she really wants you to feel, then why get married to her in the first place? Why starve her heart? Why starve her emotionally if you know you can't give what it takes? Okay, let me use this medium to talk about an article I'm working on. It's about talking about singleness and marriage. You know, when you're single, you have all the time to yourself. You have all your decisions to make. You have everything to do by yourself. But when you're married, you're no longer alone. So now it's more like a shared responsibility, which means before you take decision, you need to think about the other person. Which means if you're not ready to put the other person into consideration before you take some actions, before you take some moves, before you take some decisions, hey, don't get married. I think that's just the best thing I can say right now. If you know you won't be able to bend, you won't be able to adjust, maybe you should just let them be instead of you causing some unnecessary emotional trauma, unnecessary psychological trauma for someone else. Maybe you should just let them be. And of course, everyone will be happy ever after. Yes, Mama, they say it's a man's world. Can you imagine? OJ28, ayo, so sorry, man. I've not really welcomed you. Oh, sorry. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Okay. So OJ28 is saying, okay, unfortunately. That's a bad truth. Unfortunately. So you're saying unfortunately is a man's word, right? But I think some narrative need to change, really. Sincerely, some narrative really need to change about this. Yes. So, lastly, I also want to tell every woman that is listening to me right now, young, old, single, or married, yes, don't ever take away the God factor. You see that G factor? Let us talk about it. We cannot overestimate that. We cannot say it enough. We cannot underrate it. And we cannot do without it. Now, I got some things from Mrs. Oluwaseun tonight. And yes, Mama, let me tell you a secret too. I think I'll be tipping from that your secret. Yes, please don't let us take away the God factor in everything that we do. Whatever thing that we are doing, don't let us take away the God factor. Are you single? While you're waiting for that time to come, please don't take away that God factor. Let God lead you right. And if you're married, please, 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 please don't let that fire on your altar, don't let it go down. Ensure it is burning. Ensure the fire is always blazing, and the Lord will help us all. Thank you so much, everybody, for tonight. I really appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for coming out. Mrs. Oluwaseun Ricketts, you're a blessing, ma'am. Thank you so much. I can still see Mojupe in the studio, Oreo Fesha, Adeusi Aditola, OJ28, all the way from Australia. Thank you, ma. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you. All right, Madam Oluwaseun, do you have something to tell us before we round off the show?
Yeah, to round off what I'll just say, if the spark in your marriage is gone, and create a new one. To create a new one, you need Abba. I pray that the light and the sparks in our marriage will be ignited by God in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mama. And yes, it is a wrap on tonight's show. It's 7 on the DOT. Yes, thank you for always being here. It's still your girl, Oluwasegun Helen Ayoyenikon. Yes, meet me again, same time next week, Friday, 6 p.m. for another exciting, inspiring, and soul-lifting topic. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you all.